So they've got a lot of experience. And yes, we knew it was the first sequence. It's visually it sets the table for the rest of the movie, right? So that the whole approach needed to be as good as possible, but it's also extremely challenging because in the water, the actors have to act off of nothing because you can't really, when you're underwater, it's not like when you have a tennis ball and you're shooting VFX in the air, right? Mm-hmm. So like, in all these movies where there's interaction between VFX and real people, they usually have a puppet, they have, something that the actor can act against. But because of the orchestration of everything underwater and because of the angles and the need to move, with a couple rare exceptions, the actors really had to concentrate on their eye line and do it all themselves. And so the remarkable thing, in addition to, the shark, was I think Tanya's ability and Emerson's ability to focus on where they think the shark is, so that you sell that they're interacting, because she's literally interacting with nothing. Like it's in her head. And so again, like a lot of prep to sort of get in that mindset of here's how it's coming, here's how you're going to watch it come, and being able to interact off of something that's not there, I think is like a huge tribute to, their work, because it's, it's like you have no idea. Like he could be imagining it coming this way. She could be imagining it coming this way. And and there are a couple times where we don't get away with it, but like for the most part, I think we do. And the other thing is that the dimensions of the shark, it's rather big.
Yeah.
So we had to sort of figure out how we're going to move something that doesn't exist, that's so massive, through a space with just an actor there, and how it's going to look. And so we spent a lot of time like trying to sort of measure and like how much of the shark will we be seeing. Often if we were too tight, we wouldn't see anything at all. So we had to kind of figure out the shots in advance, which would allow you to visually interact with each other. So it was a lot of fun, but it's really Black Ginger, their VFX. I think mea culpa, not all the shots are as good as I would have wanted them to be, because we had to make Shark Week.
Yeah.
So like we had two editors. Like post was, the crucible from hell, but I think they did some really inspired work also in the container at the end.
Yeah.
I think
Hoffmeyer came through.
Always does.
One of my favorite scenes is when Emma punches the shark and then she's like, ow! That made me really, it was a little, for me, with a lot of films that become my favorite, they have these little moments in them that I adore. And when she said ow after punching the shark, it just made me really happy. I don't know why, but it's a good bit. It's little things like that make these movies. And I had a lot of fun. So, also, I just want to bring this in real quick. Your production designer, Franz Lewis, he got his start on one of his first films was Ernest in the Army, I believe. And a lot of your crew worked on this Ernest film when it was over there. So I'm a big Ernest fan. So when I saw that they worked on Ernest movies, I was like, I like all these people. They're cool. So I'd like to think that, Jim Varney and Ernest in the Army, their experience on that helped out Deep Blue Sea 3. So that makes me.
They referenced it all the time.
Yeah. Oh, really?
No. Kidding.
No. Kidding. That's why one day on Ernest in the Army, we had this shark. And it reminded me.
Yes.
So from when you got the script to production and then turnaround, how much time did you have? I love movies like Scream comes out and a year later Scream 2. That's fast. That's script, production, editing, marketing. So I always love knowing how much time people had to go from script to screen.
It's a very good question that I never get asked, so I'd love to answer correctly. The When I came on board, there was a script, and I would say that was April 2019,
Oh,
and then September, October we were shooting.
God.
And then it had to be done for Shark Week 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's so. The thing when you deliver for a studio, they like a buffer, like a big buffer, as you know. And as filmmakers, we're like, what are you doing with all that time that we can't have it? Oh, marketing. So we had to deliver it, I think, April,
Wow.
late April, or early, maybe the beginning of May. So June, July, yeah, ish.
Such a quick production.
So it was
Yeah,
finished
so less
in
than
lockdown then.
yeah, almost just about a year and a little bit. And yeah, we had to edit during lockdown, which was a challenge. We were very fortunate with our post people who just like the South African crew, they're like, you know what, it's pandemic, but we're going to make this happen. We're going to get this movie out for Shark Week. So like it became this sort of Shark Week. We have to get it out. We have to get it out. And I think some things got, a little rushed, frankly, as they usually do. But, we did the best that we could.
Still looks great. I loved it. And I'm not just telling you this. Jay and I were talking after I watched it. And Jay was like, didn't you say, Jay, you pictured me just like jumping up and down, being incredibly happy?
But as soon as, because I know that Mark's a huge fan of front kicks in films, and just as soon as there was the fight scene with the kicks, I was like, Mark's going to love this film. And I really enjoyed it as well. I like when there's decapitations in films, and and it's just a strange thing that I enjoy. And there's a very unique decapitation in Deep Blue Sea 3.
Yeah.
There's a couple of real like jump off the sofa, fist in the air moments that I really enjoyed.
That's good.
And the highest compliment I can give a film is that my wife didn't look at her phone whilst we were watching it. She actually watched the film. So
that's so gratifying to hear. That's for me, like that's why I attempt to do what I'm doing, is like just getting some enjoyment and fun and being able to kind of plant yourself in that world for 90 minutes. And I mean, we had so much fun and put so much effort into our kills, and I just like that the backflip that the shark does after he takes the guy's head off, and there's a joy, we tried to put a lot of joy into this movie in sort of a sick way, and I just like that shot where it twists, it's like a corkscrew, it takes its head off. It's just like every time I see it, it makes me happy.
And you really care for the characters. I mean, the whole cast is phenomenal as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
I just want to throw in real quick. Dolph Lundgren did a movie called Shark Lake, and he's known for his front kicks, and he didn't front kick a shark. So I was incredibly disappointed by that. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
It comes up often.
That's wrong.
Yeah, so this movie atones for that with its kicks. But one interesting thing is, like in Deep Blue Sea in '99, we talked about that as being like a prison escape film because those sharks were modified and they're trying to escape. But what's different in this one is, I remember watching this and you see the scene with kind of the great white, not graveyard, but the great white corpses. Yeah. That hit me hard. And then, I know these sharks were modified. I know that they're being hunted. But in the back of my head, I'm like, they murdered those not murdered, I mean, they're sharks, but they ate those great whites. And so, like, I remember at the end of Deep Blue Sea when that shark gets blown up, I felt bad for it. I'm like, that thing was just trying to escape from prison. But with this one, they are, I'm not going to say they're outright antagonists, but it makes sense that they want to bring them back and hunt them. And it makes, I don't know. So at the end, when they're going up against them, it didn't feel like I feel bad for these sharks. I guess in the back of my mind, I'm like, they killed all those great whites. So it was, as far as storytelling goes, I like that about it because I just kept thinking about those poor great white, bodies that were laying there, and it bummed me out. So I was like, yeah, get those bull sharks. So yeah. I don't know. That made me happy about it. It didn't make me depressed, I guess, that like a Deep Blue Sea did. But I like that idea of adding that in.
That's it's an interesting point, and it's something that it was very it was very important to me to be able to emotionally track and empathize with both the Sharks and with Emma and her team. And so we kind of hit some very obvious notes with that in the third act, like when Emerson Brooks' character, it gets mad and he's like, those fucking Sharks. And Emma, Tanya says, we did this to them. Mm-hmm. It's not their fault. It's our fault. And to put our protagonist in a situation at the end of the movie where she has to fucking crush to death what she spent her entire life protecting, I thought was a really interesting way to climax this movie. And the biggest and the thing that I had to fight really hard for, and I wouldn't do the movie if we didn't get this line, is when she says to the shark, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then she crushes it mercilessly to death. To me, like, that's the heart of what her character and her journey is all about. But, rewinding a little bit, I love sharks and I love the ocean. And yeah, we have a little bit of maybe a lot of kind of an got criticized for how on the nose we were about trying to protect the ocean, et cetera, by a lot of people. And I don't give a shit.
But you got criticized for that?
You just wouldn't believe, politically correct, snowflakes, protect the ocean, fuck that, leftist propaganda, blah, 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 blah.
But if there's no ocean, there's no deep sea films.
Yeah,
exactly.
You need one for the other, at the very least.
Exactly. But but for example, in the sharks had to have a motive throughout the movie for this to make sense, other than just randomly killing people. And so the whole thing that was constructed was that this is a rescue operation. Their Scarface, the one shark mm-hmm. that got caught, is on the boat, and the other two sharks, are trying to free him. And like, who can't relate to that? So, yeah. And when they free him, there's that little. You talk about the little things. Mark, there's a little moment where the sharks surface and they nudge the sleeve that he's caught in
so that
he can wiggle out.
I love that. I noticed that. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, so that they had to have a motive for this to work, that you could relate to. And it's not their fault that if they're free and they start having babies, they'll destroy the ocean and we can't have any more movies. So, we have to do a tough thing, which is we have to kill our babies. We have to kill what we love in order for us to survive. So that was, her journey. But, I'm glad that you liked that.
You had to fight for I'm sorry. That's one of my favorite parts, because there's no one-liner like you're crushed, or I don't know, I don't know, like any other bowl puns.
It's like your soup or something.
Yeah, exactly. I like that part a lot. And I think my favorite part of Deep Blue Sea 2 was the shark finning aspect in the beginning, how they brought that up. Like, this is real, this is what happens.
Yeah. That was a good sequence.
Yeah, and then you have the climate change. I mean, it's not. This wasn't on the head at all. I guess some people are super sensitive, but I like that part of it. You have this place that's sinking, that's going underwater, and I shouldn't be shocked by it. It's the internet, right? I mean, if people aren't saying things, I might be worried.
Yeah, and I think the fun thing too is the real place is also sinking, and it's not the fun thing, it's the tragic thing.
Yeah.
This is a real thing that's really happening, and there are these little villages and bigger places and cities that are, imperiled. And it's really